Hello, my dear students of second year BA, third semester BA students. The Boor one act play. This is the first one act play in your syllabus, and this is my last video, ninth session for the play. So, I have to sum up in this video with this play. Let us have the recap before this one. In the previous session, in the previous video, we learned about themes of the play, right? Yeah. So here we have analysis and revision. This is what I wanted to discuss here and wanted to sum up in this session. What is the learning objectives? Students will get an overall idea of the play because earlier we have 8 videos, 8 sessions for there. I try to explain you in detail each and every details of the play and mannerisms, themes, etc., the arguments and how the characters exposed to us in the play, everything. I try to prepare you for the exam also. Session outcome: students will understand the play completely. Yes, this is what I wanted to do now. Content analysis and revision. Okay. Yes. What is this analysis or revision of the play? The Boor. We know what is Boor here. It's about a woman's loyalty to her dead husband. Okay, I try to summarize the whole thing here, revising whatever we have learned and analyzing the understanding whatever we have learned. And the husband of Mrs. Popov betrayed her many times. You know, the love letters she found in his cupboard and how many times he betrayed her and how he cheated her before many women. He blamed her, he rebuked her. These are the things we know, right? Popov's loyalty towards her husband influences Mr. Smirnov because for the dead person she was showing such a love. He thought that if I live for her, then how could she love me? This is what he expected. Maybe Mr. Smirnov, who sold oats for Nikolai's horse Toby to Mr. Nikolai, right? So that is a connection. Nikolai has to pay him 1200 rubles because he never paid for that, and now he remembered it and then he came back to his estate to get his money back. Nikolai didn't pay the 1200 rubles for the oats. Smirnov came to Mrs. Popov's house to get his money back. At the beginning of the play, Luka, the servant of Mrs. Popov, stops Mr. Smirnov at the door. At the door. In the play, we also had another word. Can you remember? Reception. Right. Mrs. Popov was mourning for her husband's death. So Mr. Nikolai and Mrs. Popov's husband, who died 7 months ago, back. Doubt arises about Mrs. Popov's mourning attitude. Why is it necessary wearing mourning dress for continuously for 7 months? Okay, and never going outside, never meeting the outsiders, the neighbors, etc. Mrs. Popov was wearing mourning dress. She never met any outsiders in the last previous 7 months. Is it possible? Mrs. Popov buried herself inside the 4 walls of the house. Right. She speaks as though she tells that my husband died. He buried himself in the okay graveyard, but I myself buried myself in the inside the four walls of the house. Luca, the loyal servant, advises her about second marriage because you don't waste your time, your life in your dead husband. Mr. Smirnov had to pay the interest by the next day on a loan from the agrarian bank. If he failed to pay the interest, bank people would seize his estate. That is his survival value. He has to save his estate, so he has to pay the money. So Mr. Smirnov came to her estate in an untidy condition. Definitely uncombed hair, okay, unwashed dress, and dirty boots he was wearing, and frustrated, irritated, and angry man. He came here. Mr. Smirnov has been traveling to meet his debtors. No debtors gave him his money. Finally, he got frustrated and behaving like a boor. What is boor? The meaning of boor is vulgar man. Looks vulgar. Mrs. Popov's manager was in outstation. Manager, steward, there are many words in there. Who went to town, so without him she couldn't pay the money. So you must wait for him. She ordered. She because she doesn't have the money to pay. She said she will pay only day after tomorrow when he comes back. Both of them they were in a very difficult condition. The argument goes between them. Why? Why not? This is the thing. Mrs. Popov tries to convince him in every way. A woman, a mourning widow. She tries to convince him. Do you think he is in a mood to listen to her words? No way. Because he has to save his estate. Bank people they never listen. Excuse. They never listen his words. He has to pay, but she tries to convince him because she is also in a very helpless situation. She doesn't have a money in her hands. There is no ready money. She talks about her mourning for 7 months because she asked him, "Is it a way how you speaks with a woman who is mourning, or with a general woman? Is it a way how to speak politely to a woman?" Because his behavior is not polite. She tries to prove that how faithful she is to her dead husband. So because maybe Smirnov got shocked in the beginning, even though her husband died 7 months before, why she is still wearing the black dress? Okay. Then through her words, Papa Smirnov comes to know that she wanted to be a very faithful wife till the death of herself. Do you think is it fruitful in any way to live like a nun or to join a church? I don't know what will happen. Finally, Mrs. Popov chose to shoot Mr. Smirnov by pistol because she knows that her husband had a love for pistols, and then he kept many pistols in their estate. She brought them, and then she gives it to Mr. Smirnov, and then she asked him to look at irony. Ironically, she asks Mr. Smirnov to teach her to shoot because she wanted to shoot him. What a comedy is this! Mr. Smirnov is attracted towards Mrs. Popov's dimple as well as loyalty towards her dead husband because dimple looks very cute on her face. He was moved by that and loyalty towards her husband. She thought that she was very loyal to the dead husband. If I marry her, if I love her, how she is loyal to me? Because he had seen many women in his life. He had a bad experience. He never met a woman like this. very true, genuine, faithful. Okay, that's why he moved towards her. In a process of teaching her how to shoot, he proposes her because he couldn't resist his emotions. Maybe on the other way, it is his weakness towards a woman. Though he learnt a lesson many times, he never stops to move before women. Initially, Mrs. Popov rejects his proposal, right? Because she was in a dilemma. What shall I do now? Shall I marry? Shall I reject? Or what the society will think, and what the servants will think, what neighbors will say. But ultimately, she also couldn't resist. Okay, then she accepts his proposal. Okay, so this is what happened in the play. Overall, the analysis and revision of the play. Have a look at these points. Okay, then there are many a times in the play that we identified faith or unfaithful or a man versus woman. There are many arguments were there. At one particular point, Mr. Smirnov was blaming women category in general. Okay, maybe it is not true. He may not make such a general statements about a woman, but he had a experience like that. That's why he was biased, had a bad opinion about women. But again, he fell into love with woman. Maybe it's a God's creation or his fortune or misfortune. We don't know. Okay, but he again fell in love with woman, right? And look at the fortune of Mrs. Popov. Actually, she already decided her future. Okay, she wanted to join some church, and then she would do some charity work there because she couldn't stay here like this. She wanted to stay away from other worldly aspects, the desires. So she wanted to live like a nun at the end of her life because she wanted to stay faithful to her dead husband. What is the use? Okay, these are the things we should analyze generally. And Luca, the servant, and other servants, they are the minor characters in the play. And just think about Nikolai. So he was a fun loving guy. Okay, then he had a weakness with the woman because he had an affair with many women, and then he betrayed this beautiful wife. Maybe he's a sadist because he insulted her many a times. He was not a good husband. So do you think he died in a very young age? It's a fortune. It's a fortunate opportunity for Mrs. Popov. Just think, if he was alive until the end of the life, or at the old age, until the old age, then what could be the situation of Mrs. Popov? She doesn't have an option to meet Mr. Smirnov or to marry or get to love, fall in love with another person. Maybe it's a good opportunity for her. So somebody's weaknesses become somebody's boons. Maybe we can think like this. Okay, another very important thing we mentioned, he mentioned in the play is that it's about Toby, but we never see Toby on the scene. But just Mrs. Popov told that go and feed extra oats for Toby today because my husband loves that Toby. Okay, so we had a analysis and a revision of the play here. Okay, then thank you very much. So here the last session ends here. Okay, the 9 videos I have made, and this one is the last one. Hope you all have understood very well. So if not, go back to the same videos, listen to it, and have a look at the notes, the study material, and look at the PPT, the points, whatever I have made, and go to the textbook. Read the textbook carefully. Read the textbook dialogue by dialogue, and you could understand the play thoroughly. Then you could enjoy reading the Boor, because the dialogues are very humorous. You have to go very deep into the play. And Anton Chekov, a very good writer. Please go to the textbook, read the dialogue, okay, and try to understand the dialogue, the themes, or whatever we discussed in the 9 videos. Okay, so all the best. Thank you very much. Signing off, Yogesh DH, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government First Grade College, Karkala, Udupi District. Thank you very much.